Hello guys, welcome to my channel, Civil War Reports, and I am Livia Shimmer here today.
What are you doing, little girl?
Talking to my audience.
No, that's my audience.
Look, how did I get here?
Hey everybody, welcome back to Civil War Reports. I am your War of the Rebellion reporter, Brian Thomas Kopak, and with me, you may have seen her once before when we were up at the General Grant House. This is my daughter, Olivia Shimmer. She goes by that name. And what are you doing here on my channel?
I don't know, it's on the Olivia Shimmer channel.
No, it's not the Olivia Shimmer channel. You're here to try to get my audience to watch your channel? Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, as you've already met her once before up at the General Grant House. If you haven't seen that episode, please go watch it. Because remember, as I mentioned in that episode, if it wasn't for this little girl, my daughter here, there would be no Civil War Reports, because she wanted her own channel for a long time. And, well, before I let her venture out into the world of the internet, I decided to test the waters for her and got a lot of great reception from you folks. I'll put a link below to her channel. If you have young children, young grandchildren, young kids in your life, and you're looking for a friendly, safe YouTube channel for them to watch, well, check out the Olivia Shimmer channel. Put a detail below. You know what? 2 days before my birthday, you got chocolate all over your face, little girl. You were eating a lot of ice cream. You messy little, yeah, you're typical 6-year-old.
I'm not 6. I'm soon turning 10.
You're turning 10?
Yeah.
I know your birthday parties. I know you some birthday parties. So, anyway, I always wanted to do an episode with you. It's my birthday coming up in 2 days, right? October 17th. You want to do an episode with me? Mm-hmm. What do you want to do?
What if?
Okay. Well, tell you what, earlier this year, I did a what if on what if General Hood got his way and went around the Union left. That was my most watched episode. Oh, we're holding people up here. That was my most watched episode. And you know what? One viewer of that episode said, what if General Lee attacked hard on the Union right instead of going around the left? And I put a lot of thought and time into it. And you know what? If he had done that, which was possible, very possible for him to do that. If he had done that, I think a lot of my southern viewers would have loved the outcome. So what do you say we take a little tour of the battlefield and discuss what if General Lee attacked on the right, okay? All right, come with us, folks, and also check out the Olivia Shimmer channel. Let's go around the battlefield. Let's see what would have happened if General Lee had attacked hard on the right, because it was possible. Would have taken a few changes, but it could have been possible, and I think the outcome would have been a lot different. Let's go around the battlefield.
Okay, Daddy, where are we now?
All right, well, right now we are on East Cemetery Hill. Behind me, you can kind of see the gatehouse for the cemetery, and Cemetery Hill was one of the rallying points, was the main rallying point for the Union Army on July 1st.
Okay, but how do these what-ifs work?
Well, in my opinion, in order to do a good what-if, you gotta take historical events that happened and then you kind of tweak them a little bit, but there's some things for a what-if that you cannot change.
Okay, so what can you not change?
Well, in my opinion, what you can change is troop location, where they were located. So in other words, for the Union Army, the 1st and the 11th Corps rallied to this area on July 1st. We can't change that. And then during the course of the evening, the Union 2nd Corps arrived, the Union 3rd Corps arrived before the morning of July 2nd, and the Union 12th Corps arrived here on the field. What we can't change is the fact that the big 6th Corps of the Union Army was in Maryland and did not arrive here until late in the afternoon of July 2nd. And what we also... Check out her channel. Also, by the way, I act a lot more goofy there than I do here. Here I'm taking myself very serious. I'm trying to do something seriously while this girl is waving a green ribbon. I don't even know where you got it from. And the 5th Corps, the Union 5th Corps, we can't change the fact that they were in Hanover, in York County on the night of July 1st. So that we can't change. What we also can't change is the fact that For the Confederate side, four divisions were engaged, and later that evening, the 3rd Division of the 2nd Corps, under the command of Allegheny Johnson, would arrive on the field. And what we can't change is that the other division for the 3rd Corps of the Confederate Army, under the command of General Anderson, would also arrive. But what we can do is we can tweak certain events and certain decisions made. That we can do. So let's take a look around and see what actually happened on July 1st. Are you hearing motorcycles coming up the roads? That what got your attention?
No.
So let's take a look at some of the other areas the Union Army rallied to, and then we'll start getting into the what ifs. Also, what we cannot change is that the Union Army also rallied over on Stevens Knoll, which is basically behind that car you see in the distance. And they also rallied to the very heavily wooded Culp's Hill. So on the morning of July 2nd, what you would have had was the 12th Corps on Culp's Hill. You would have had the 11th Corps along East Cemetery Hill. You are now looking at the eastern face of the seminary. And remember, it was up there in that cupola. I don't know if you can see, but there's people up there now. And that is the famous cupola that was used by General Buford on the morning of July 1st. That's not going to change. And I'm also told that General Lee also did use that cupola during July 2nd and July 3rd. But that may change, because remember, where things are going to be a little different on July 2nd here at Gettysburg than the way history records it. I'm currently standing on Seminary Ridge. In front of me, off to the right, is Lee's headquarters that he used during the battle, and behind me is the town. Now, we do know this much according to Longstreet's own after-action report. He arrived on Seminary Ridge around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. He then set out on the ridge to observe the town. There's probably a lot less vegetation, a lot less trees in the area at the time, because he said he was watching the Union Army retreat to Cemetery Hill, and that much he could see. And it was at that time that he formed his opinion that, well, maybe the Confederate Army should break off and swing around to the left, put themselves between Gettysburg and Washington, D.C. And it was there that he uttered the famous lines that's even mentioned in the movie Gettysburg, that if the Union Army is there in the morning, it's because they want us to attack. And at around 5:30, a little bit after 5:30, realizing that General Lee wasn't listening to him, he broke off the discussion and headed back west to hurry up his corps. All right, now, what if Longstreet and Lee did not have such a heated debate, and Lee was able to convince Longstreet that instead of going around to the left, what if you ride with me over to see General Ewell on the east end of Gettysburg, and maybe we can formulate a battle plan that would satisfy just about everybody, and one that would work. So let's take a look at that. But before I do, one thing I do need to mention is that one thing we can't change is General Pickett and his division of Virginians will not be here on the morning of July 2nd, because they're still 25 or so miles to the west in Chambersburg, and they're there guarding wagons, and they're not going to be able to march to Gettysburg until they're relieved. So that's not going to change. Longstreet will still go into battle on July 2nd with one division missing, and I'll explain later, he's also going to have another brigade missing as well. So now let's head on over to the east end of town. Let's go to General Ewell's headquarters. Let's add General Longstreet to the mix of this Council of War that took place on July 1st, which consisted of General Lee, General Ewell, General Early, General Rhodes, and again, we'll throw in General Longstreet. And what if we can get all of these generals to agree to attack on the Union right and hit them hard with everything they got? First light, July 2nd. Point of historical fact, the sun rose at 7:47 a.m. on July 2nd here in Gettysburg. Now, anybody who's been in the Northeast at that time of year, you know that even before the sun comes up, you can see very well in front of you. Even before the sun rises over the horizon, things are becoming very clear. So, General Lee could have made the decision, with the backing of General Longstreet, to bring the bulk of the Confederate Army over to this area and attack hard on July 2nd, 1863. But remember, we got to remember this. This is a historical fact. General Meade is expecting General Lee to do just that. And he is preparing on the night of the 1st for such an attack. But in this scenario, there's not going to be that 24 hours of really non-fighting that historically happened, because General Lee is going to move his army and position them here. The First Corps is not going to be attacking hard on the left like they historically did, but they're going to be coming around this area to attack Culp's Hill really hard. Okay? So let's move on, and I'll continue explaining this what-if scenario, and tell me if you think this could have happened, or if I'm crazy and no, this could not have happened. But again, we got to make sure, key factor here is General Longstreet gets on board and wants this attack to take place on the Union right, first light, July 2nd, 1863.
Wait, where are we?
All right, well, right now we are on Benner's Hill, and this is a spot that's rarely visited on the battlefield, but it really has an important place during the Battle of Gettysburg.
Okay, but whose cannons are these?
Well, this was really about the best position the Confederates had. So these are Confederate guns. The best position the Confederates had on July 2nd to fire on the Union position at Culp's Hill and Cemetery Hill. Off in the distance, don't know if you can see it, don't know if I'm in your way, but way off in the distance, you can see the top of the tower. That's the tower on Culp's Hill that we've walked up many times. Yeah, unfortunately they don't have an elevator for your daddy, because he's getting old. So this was really the best position on the extreme Confederate left to attack the Union position on Cemetery Hill and Culp's Hill with long-range artillery. And unfortunately for the Confederates, they were greatly outgunned because the Union Army had a lot more positions on Cemetery Hill, East Cemetery Hill, to fire over here in what was called counter battery fire. But I believe that this hill, this ridge, could have been a really great position to hide General Longstreet's corps. Now, here's my plan. Here's what I'm thinking in this what-if scenario. Okay, you ready for this one, little girl?
Yeah.
Okay, she loves dancing. All right. So General Longstreet, looking at the after-action reports of both General Longstreet and General Kemper, who was a brigade commander in McLaws' division, they camped about 4 miles west of the town on the evening of July 1st. What if General Longstreet, again, agreed to this idea and told McLaws Division and Hood's Division. They were both equally, according to Longstreet, about 4 miles from town. What if they did this? Okay, from Benner's Hill, you do got a pretty good view of the town. And remember, on July 1st, the Confederates occupied and thus controlled the town. So what if General Longstreet decided to keep his 2 divisions in motion, have them march through the town under the cover of darkness up to this area? I think it could have happened without the Union Army really detecting that movement. They probably would have just thought it was elements of Ewell's 2nd Corps, because again, remember, Allegheny Johnson does arrive in the town of Gettysburg on the night of July 1st. Okay, what you're looking at now is the area behind Benner's Hill. Now, this area could have been used as the bivouac area for McLaws and Hood's Division on the night of July 1st. They could have camped here and gone into battle first light on July 2nd. Now, let's take a look at these 2 divisions. McLaws' division was 4 brigades strong, and as for Hood, he would have had 3 brigades with him on the morning of July 2nd. Remember, General Law's Alabama Brigade was at Guilford Court House, 25 miles west of Gettysburg, and Longstreet did use that as an excuse on July 2nd to delay his attack to allow Hood's division to be at full strength. But again, for this what-if scenario, Longstreet's on board with attacking first light in this part of the battlefield, attacking hard on the Union right. I'm currently standing in the peach orchard, made famous when General Dan Sickles advanced his corps to the Emmitsburg Road, and this is the area that General Longstreet's corps hit, and hit hard. However, peach orchard, maybe at best, would become a footnote in history, if even that, because General Longstreet's corps is not going to be here to attack on the Confederate right. They're going to be, remember, on the other side, over by Culp's Hill, to attack on the Confederate left flank. Now, off in the distance, you can see the Emmitsburg Road. Probably several hundred yards, if not more, up the Emmitsburg Road would be the end of Lee's line. Now, we're not going to change that Anderson's division is in the lead of that attack over here. What I'm going to change for this what-if scenario is that Lee recognizes that this is, well, to use a modern term, the mother of all battles, and he's going to commit everything he has on the morning of July 2nd. So, originally, Anderson's division had no depth to it. In other words, it was his division strung out in one long line with no reinforcements behind it. For this scenario, Lee recognizes the importance of this battle, and he puts either Heath or Pender's division behind it. Both of those divisions were engaged on July 1st from A.P. Hill's 3rd Corps. Both suffered heavily, but we're going to realize the importance of this battle, and we're going to put at least one of those battered divisions behind Anderson for support. And what we're going to do with the other one, either Heath or Pender, we're going to extend the line into town so that they can attack at least the western slope of Cemetery Hill. The area where the old cyclorama once stood, the area where the visitors center once stood, right in front of us. And buildings and shops along Steinwehr Avenue. The Taneytown Road. and the western entrance to the Soldiers National Cemetery. All right, I just gave you a panoramic view of the area I'm standing on right here along the Taneytown Road. In front of me is the western entrance to the Soldiers National Cemetery, and off to my right is where the old visitor center used to be located. Now, according to the scenario that I'm working out here, this would be the area that either Pender's division or Heath's division, depending upon which one was supporting General Anderson's division, this is the area that they would attack from. Okay, on the night of July 2nd, looking down the Taneytown Road towards town, well, that was basically the area in which General Rhodes was supposed to attack with his division. It would stretch over to the area by where the rec park is today and come through part of the town. However, General Rhodes really didn't attack. He couldn't find a good area to form up his division, and he really didn't do much on the night of July 2nd. Keep in mind, his division did suffer heavily on July 1st, but for this scenario, he's going to attack, and he's going to attack in force. I also want to add that next to General Rhodes, on his left, we're not going to change that, is going to be General Early's division. Okay, and they're going to attack East Cemetery Hill, and he's going to attack it hard. He's going to use all 5 of his brigades, not just the 2 that he used on the night of July 2nd. And again, next to him, attacking the Culp's Hill area, is going to be the 3rd Division from General Ewell's 2nd Corps, under the command of General Allegheny Johnson, and then Longstreet's Corps is going to be next to them. So this area really is going to be about 3/4 of the way surrounded by Lee's army. Now, the advantage the Yankee army will have is 2 things. 1, Meade is expecting the attack to come here, and 2, they do have a greater advantage of area to place artillery. Confederate artillery, much like at your battle that we know, is going to be firing long-range artillery. Maybe there might be some advancement in this scenario, maybe, but we know that on July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, Lee pretty much exhausted all of his long-range artillery here at this battle.
Okay, where are we at now?
Okay, well, right now we are on the summit of Culp's Hill. Just showed you the tower that I showed you from Benner's Hill. That's open to the public. You're free to go up it, and I'm standing in front of the monument for General George Sears Green. Why don't you burn up some of that energy by going running up the tower?
Can I go run up the tower?
Yeah, just give me your microphone. Just give me your mic. Okay. All right. Kids, what can I tell you? All right, so I'm standing in front of the monument for George Sears Green. Well, who was he? First of all, he was the oldest Union general here at Gettysburg, and he was an engineer in civilian life before the war. And it was his decision to build breastworks on Culp's Hill, and they really did do a job in slowing down the Confederates. Now, in reality, on July 2nd, the night of July 2nd, the Confederates were able to get around them, but he started building those breastworks. He's pointing to where the breastworks are, and that happened on the night of July 1st, so that can't change. And remember, it was mentioned in the movie Gettysburg that the Confederate Army could hear the axes going, and Jubal Early did state on the night of July 1st that if they did not capture Culp's Hill on the 1st, it would take 10,000 men to capture it on July 2nd. Well, maybe under this scenario, if the Confederates attacked at first light, maybe it wouldn't take 10,000, maybe it would. But regardless, there will be breastworks in this scenario on part of Culp's Hill when Lee launches his attack early in the morning on July 2nd. I'm now standing in the Culp's Hill area. I'm not on the hill, but I'm really at what was the extreme right of the Union Army on the morning of July 2nd, 1863. Behind me is a monument for the 3rd Wisconsin. As you can see up on top, there is a star that is the corps symbol for the 12th Corps. I want to mention that the 11th and the 12th Corps were the smallest corps in the Union Army here at Gettysburg, both of them numbering under 10,000 men. So for this what-if scenario, let's take a look at it. Only a couple hundred yards to my left is Rock Creek. Longstreet's men would have had to cross that creek to get into this area. And I think they would have had the manpower to do it. Now, also, to my right, only by a couple hundred yards, also, is the Baltimore Pike. I don't think you folks can hear it through the microphone, but I could definitely hear cars going up and down the Baltimore Pike. That's how close I am to it. Now, on the morning of July 2nd, the Union Army really only controlled 2 roads, the Taneytown Road and the more major Baltimore Pike. Yeah, they had some control of the Emmitsburg Road, but that was further away from the town. As you got closer to the town, the Confederates definitely, while not in control of the road itself, definitely were close by and could have hindered any kind of Union retreat down the Emmitsburg Road, at least from the town. So, in my scenario, in my what if Longstreet was able to get his 7 brigades around this area and capture the Baltimore Pike, and then face his 7 brigades towards the town, I believe it's very possible he would have cut off Meade's main avenue of retreat, leaving him really just the Taneytown Road, and, well, if they escaped down Cemetery Ridge, they could have then picked up the Emmitsburg Road, really around the Wheatfield area, maybe a little even further down, and retreated. Because I think if they were able to turn the Union Army here, on the right, they would have won the Battle of Gettysburg. But there's a few other real-life variables we gotta deal with that could hinder what I just said. We'll take a look at them in a few moments. There is one aspect of this what-if scenario that I'm just not capable of wrapping my brain around in terms of what would have happened, looking at true historical events and then trying to place them into this what-if scenario. And that is this. We know that on the morning of July 2nd, General Meade was shy of 2 Army Corps. The 6th, which was the largest corps in the Army of the Potomac at the time in terms of infantrymen. Well, they're in Maryland and they're not going to arrive here in time to take part in this what-if scenario, because they came much later in the day. They had about a 35-mile march from Maryland just to get here to Gettysburg. So they're not going to be part of this what-if scenario, other than maybe providing some support should the Army of Northern Virginia pursue the retreating Army of the Potomac. But the 5th Corps, which was also an important corps because it was pretty large, but it also contained a division of Army regulars. Well, we know this much according to General George Sykes' own after-action report. According to him, that at 7 p.m. on July 1st, they left Hanover and began marching towards Gettysburg. They got as far as the town of Bonington. It's spelled Bonaughton. It's now called Bonneville. A lot more easier for me to pronounce. And there at Bonneville, I'm going to use the modern town name, they bivouacked for the night. And at 4 a.m. on July 2nd, Sykes put the 5th Corps in march towards Gettysburg, and that would be about a 6-mile march to Gettysburg. However, on the morning of July 2nd, the sun had already risen. as they were approaching Gettysburg on the Hanover Road. Historically, they did run into some cavalry, which caused Sykes to veer off the Hanover Road near the Deerdorf farm, pick up a trail, and it brought them to here, the Baltimore Pike. Behind me in the distance is Wolf's Hill. Sykes mentions that in his after-action report that he ended up over here at about 8 a.m. in the morning with the lead elements of his 5th Corps. Now, according to this what-if scenario, Lee is attacking at first light on July 2nd, so the battle's already in progress for about 3 to 3.5 hours according to this scenario. In my opinion, by that point in time, Lee's really starting to best, if not he's gotten the best of, the Army of the Potomac. So what would Sykes do at this point? Would he march up the Baltimore Pike and try to come behind, in my opinion, what would have been Longstreet's brigades? Or would he have stayed here, maybe moved over to the Taneytown Road to act really as a rear guard as the Union Army is retreating? Now remember, I said his lead elements arrived here at about 8 in the morning according to Sykes' own after-action report. But the entire Corps did not arrive in the Gettysburg area until noon. So it's not as if the entire 5th Corps arrived here at 8 in the morning, only part of it. So I'm going to leave this up to you folks. I'm really not sure what he would have done. I don't know if he would have wanted to engage, or would he have acted more as just protecting the retreating Army of the Potomac. Great question. I don't know the answer to that. You folks, you got an idea? Please chime in the comments below. Okay, little girl, I don't think I have to tell you where we are now.
We're at Little Round Top.
Well, we are in front of Little Round Top. They're still doing preservation work up there, and we've had a lot of fun up on Little Round Top, huh? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you especially love that monument that looks like a castle up there, don't you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you had some fun up there too. Well, in this what-if scenario, unfortunately, Little Round Top may just be a footnote in history, as the Union Army may have just used it to help cover their retreat, because right behind Little Round Top is Taneytown Road. And if the scenario played out the way I did, of course, I'm not sure about the 5th Corps, how that would have worked, but really the Taneytown Road would have been really the only avenue left for the Union Army to retreat. And they may have tried to make a last stand up there, so shall we say, in the Gettysburg area before heading back into Maryland. And that's what I think would have happened under this what-if scenario. You know what? I don't have all the answers. I'm just presenting something that I think might have happened if things went a little differently, if Longstreet got on board with it and Lee was all in favor of attacking hard on the Union right. I'm sorry, I forget the person's name who suggested this, but I really want to say thank you for it. Had a great time doing this episode, especially with my little girl here. Birthday's coming up in 2 days. This is the best birthday present I ever got from her, doing a video with her. You want to say hi, thank you, and please do not forget her channel. If you could, go to Olivia Shimmer, and I'll put the link below. If you have young kids that are looking for, she can't stop dancing, looking for a kid-friendly YouTube channel, the Olivia Shimmer channel is for you. You see me in that channel too. I act a lot differently. I act a lot more goofy here. I'm a lot serious. But I have a great time doing stuff with my little girl. Second time doing something on this channel. So, anything you want to say before we leave?
Bye.
Okay, she's walking off scene, off camera. All right, well, for Civil War Reports, I am your War of the Rebellion reporter, along with Olivia Shimmer, his wonderful daughter. Until next time, please keep the history alive, and thank you for watching. And if you like what you saw today, please hit the subscribe button. Give a thumbs up. Also, notify your friends. Let them know about this channel and ask them to subscribe as well. If you like, you may leave a question or a comment below, and perhaps I will answer your question in a future episode of Civil War Reports. Until next time, please keep the history alive.